Hello dear students, welcome back for the second session of History Chapter 2, New Kings and Kingdoms. I hope you have followed my instructions from our first session. We will have a quick recap about what we learnt in last session. So we learnt emergence of new dynasties and kingdoms like Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Chauhans. Also we learnt about war for wealth. We learnt about invasions of Ghazni and Gori. So in today's session too, we will learn few more things about Ghazni and then continue with new topics. When Muhammad Ghazni invaded Indian civilization, he was fascinated after looking at our Indian civilization. To fulfill his curiosity to know more about our civilization, so he appointed his scholar to know and learn about everything of our civilization. What people do, how they be, what people here believe in, what language was spoken, which kingdoms, which dynasties, etc. and note down everything that he sees in Indian civilization. This Al-Biruni wrote a book in Arabic known as Kitab al-Hind. To write this book, he used many sources. He also consulted with Sanskrit scholars to gather the required information. Book Kitab al-Hindi is an important source for historians to know the history, as it was a complication of various things in that period. The fresh topic of this session is administration. Here we will learn how was the administration of empires and dynasties in that period. Kings of those times were giving big titles to themselves like Maharaja Adhiraja, which meant they were king of kings. Tribhuvan Chakravartins means they were lord of all three lokas or lord of the three worlds, that is universe. These titles were given to themselves to portray or to show that they were very big kings. Have big army, kingdom is very prosperous. The king of all our empire was a sole authority. He was the final decision maker of anything and everything. It does not mean the king looked after each and everything. They shared their powers with their samantas. These samantas had power to take various decisions. Kings not only shared power with samantas, he also shared powers with peasants, that farmers association, traders associations and Brahman associations. He shared his power to these associations so that they would manage their own areas on their own. This will know that their own will no one will stand against the king. It also benefited the king to keep the empire united and get taxes. To run the administration, one would need the resources like food. Someone else had to grow food for the other resource was labor. Like one has to make fort, he needs manpower, or to make artilleries like swords, arrows for army. If one need chariot, so he needs a carpenter. Food and labor was basic resource which came from producers. Producers are who work manually. People from lower caste did this work. Who were those? They were peasants, farmers who produced crops. Required crops were kept for the farmer and rest was taken for the empire. Next is cattle keepers who produced milk, ghee and skin, etc. that was needed, and artisans. Resources were collected from these various people. They were either convinced to supply the resource or forced to give out their products, or they had to work in the palace. This was claimed as rent or tax, as they believed king beholded the land of the whole empire and they have to give out the produce to the king as a rent or tax. Tax or revenue was also collected from traders who used to travel for trading. What was done by these collected resources? All the resources, be it in the form of food, labor or tax, was used for king's establishment, constructions of temples and foods. Also, the resources was used to maintain big armies, to fight war, to acquire more wealth from others. Kingdoms in form of plunder means by looting, also to acquire the trade routes for their business, as well as to collect taxes from the traders using the route. This work of collecting revenue was authorized to the existing rich and powerful families, and positions were often hereditary. Hereditary means passing on position from father to the son. Till now, we have learnt about various taxes. The same way, historians have found inscriptions of Cholas who ruled in Tamil Nadu tells us about 400 terms of different taxes, kind of taxes. For example, vetti. Vetti in the form of forced labor, which meant if a person does not have anything to pay as tax like food, he was forced to work as labor in the palace. Another was kadmai, land revenue. If someone owned a land, he had to pay tax. Then thatching the house, which meant if you make a house and put a roof on it, one has to pay tax on roofing, that is thatching. Using ladder to climb palm trees. Now the palm trees are too tall, difficult to climb. If anyone uses ladder to climb them, they had to pay taxes for using ladder too. Cess or tax on inheriting property means succession of property from father to his children. These were different taxes in those time people had to pay to the king. Next topic is prashastis and land grants. Prashasti means praising or certificate or validation of something. This word prashasti was used in different forms. Here prashasti means the earlier king got inscriptions written about themselves. They wrote all good things on inscriptions so that further generation would know such a great king existed. They wrote how valiant means they were brave, how many wars they won, how warriors they were. These prashastis were written by the learned Brahmins who also helped the king in the administration. So we get to know about the kings through these prashastis. Kings gave big pieces of land to Brahmins as rewards, which was recorded on copper plates. These copper plates were proof that the donated land belonged to the Brahmin and his family. The landlord Brahmin had authority to collect tax on that land. He can put a fine tax on betel leaves, woven clothes, on use of vehicles, etc. Let us learn about the Chola Empire. In our southern part of India, many empires existed. They rise, they fall. The many empires, one prominent empire was the Chola Empire. It was because Chola Empire ruled south of India for almost 400 to 500 years, and it is considered as the longest living empire. Now you can think how many years or how many rulers or kings from Chola dynasty must have ruled the empire. So first let's learn how the Chola Empire started to build up. Pallava dynasty was ruling the southern part of India. Pallava dynasty ruled around the areas of Kanchipuram. As we have discussed earlier about Samanta working as subordinates, in the same way Pallava dynasty had subordinates. Muttariya's family was ruling around Kaveri Delta, who was subordinate to Pallavas. Vijayalaya, who belonged to the Cholas from Urayar, attacked and captured a small region around the Kaveri Delta in 9th century. They established the base of their empire. The town they built was Tanjavur. The success of Vijayalaya means the heir or inheritor were also great warrior and started conquering neighboring areas of Pallavas and Pandyas. In that way, they extended boundaries of Chola Empire and made it bigger and more powerful. Bigger and powerful means when one conquers and extends his boundaries, the income of or the taxes also increase. So more wealth, more bigger army, so more power. Among many kings or rulers of Chola dynasty, one named Raja Raja I was very prominent as he was considered the most powerful Chola ruler as he expanded his territory of Chola Empire. Rajendra I, son of Raja Raja, was also a great warrior. He continued his father's policy of expansion. He started his expansion from south towards the north in the Ganga Valley. Along with it, Sri Lanka and countries in the southern East Asia were also brought under the rule of Cholas. To attack and conquer these areas, he needed strong navy which he developed and brought the faraway countries under his rule of Cholas. By doing this, he started getting taxes from these countries too. The next topic which we will learn is splendid temple and bronze sculptures. Here splendid means very huge or glorious or wonderful, and sculpture means a work of art that is produced by carving or shaping materials such as stone or clay. Chola Empire was very prosperous. All the kings of the dynasty had many artisans. As we have learned earlier that if a king or a dynasty became a big and powerful, they built temples and huge monuments. The same way, Cholas also made many big temples in Tanjavur and Konda and Cholapuram. They have made many temples in many places. There is a big list of names of temples, but we are learning about two. Only many temples there were made by Raja Raja and Rajendra I. These temples are splendid example of great architecture and sculpture. For example, Brihadeshwara temple, Aireshwara temple and Kampeshwara temple. Such big and huge temples are made by kings of Chola dynasty. Images are given in the slide for referral. Chola temples were not only temples, it became a nuclei of settlement, which means along with the temples, villages were set up around the temples. Temples were endowed with land by rulers. The produce of the land went to maintain all the specialties who worked at the temple and lived near it: priests, garland maker, cooks, sweepers, musicians, dancers, etc. Which means king used to donate big land to make the temple. During the making of the temples, which took years and years, workers stay around so that they do not have to travel far places for work. When the temple was completed, there had to be prayers. People had to stay around, like priests for prayers, garland makers to make garlands for offerings, which also included one who grow flowers, collect flowers, garland makers, cooks for making prasadam or for making food had to stay around, sweepers for cleaning temples, musicians to create music for praising God, dancers for different devotional dance forms, etc. Such various people were required to stay around the temples because and these temples became nuclei of settlement. These were center of learning, craft production. Thus, the temples were not only a place of worship but also they were a hub of economic, social and cultural life as well. Chola bronze images are considered among the finest in the world. When various people stayed around the temple, like Brahmins, musicians, dancers, it also became a learning hub. Knowledge and art craft was passed on by teaching others. Dancers taught various dance forms to other dancers. This is how temples were not only place for worship but also economic, social and cultural life hub. Economic hub means where things were purchased and sold. Social hub as various dancers and craftsmen were flourishing. And cultural as many people around the places were visiting there. Chola Empire was also famous for bronze images, which means brass and copper statues. These statues were made with minute detailing and beautiful artwork. Not only statues were made in Chola Empire, but also beautiful literature work was done, like Kamban Ramayana was written. Be it music, be it dance, it had a big impact on Chola Empire in culture. Here we end with the second session. I hope you all have heard the session carefully, read the slides and seen the reference images to connect with. So now see you in next session with new topics. Till then, take care, be safe, be healthy. Bye.